Hello and welcome to OpenTuition's introduction to the ACCA paper that is now known as Strategic Business Reporting. This could be your very first attempt at the paper, which is great. For some of you, it could be a resit attempt based upon what you've done previously on P2. So Strategic Business Reporting is now the new updated paper that replaces the old P2 paper, Corporate Reporting, to give it its old name. If you have previously sat under P2, then do not panic, do not stress. It's not like SBL, your Strategic Business Leader, that replaces both P1 and P3. This just replaces one paper, and there are not a huge amount of differences with regard to the syllabus or with regards to the exam content. Okay, note that word content. There are changes in terms of how things are examined, but the technical content pretty much remains the same, bar the odd minor difference here or there. Okay, so I'm Chris Barlow. I'm going to go through and talk you through this introduction. I'm going to go through there as well and cover all the videos. I've prepared the class notes. I'll also go through there and respond to any questions that you may have on the Ask the Tutor forum as well. Okay, so you'll be spending a lot of time between now and your exam listening to me. So we'll get to know one another in a virtual sense. Okay, you will know me. I won't really get to know you unless you ask plenty of questions on that Strategic Business Reporting forum. So let's go through there first of all. Whoa, geez, looks ridiculous, doesn't it? The syllabus. That's the detailed syllabus that is there on the ACCA website. Let's just simplify it, shall we? Because you read that and it just looks scary. The simplification brings it down to the same 6 areas of the syllabus that you can see there, but one area, part A, is all about ethics and professional principles. So if you have done Strategic Business Leader, or you have done the old, was it the P1 paper, then you'll be in a really good position to be able to answer the ethics questions that appear within Strategic Business Reporting, which is good news because it should be easy mark to be able to get. Okay. It is examined slightly differently to the way in which it was previously under ACCA P2. The good news is that there are potentially more marks available within the exam than what there were previously for resolving any ethical issues. The scenarios are pretty much the same, or that's what we expect them to be. You have an accounting issue that has been done incorrectly, and therefore you need to address that accounting issue whilst at the same time addressing the ethical issue, which is usually the accountant or somebody within the accounting function is applying the rules wrong, and therefore you need to state the correct rules, and then you need to state there that the principles of the ACCA Code of Ethics and what principles within there are being broken, okay, and what you should then do to go through there and ensure that there is ethical behaviour in the future. Part B of the syllabus is going back there and looking at the financial reporting framework. You're unlikely in Strategic Business Reporting to go through and get a question on the framework, but it's really useful still, like it was in F7 or financial reporting as it's now known, to go through there and ensure that you understand the fundamentals of how our financial reporting standards are prepared, so that you can then apply that to some of the more complex transactions that you will see within the world of strategic business reporting. Because it doesn't matter how complex the transactions get within complex industries, the same IFRSs apply and the same fundamental principles of the definitions of assets, liabilities, income, expenses, the recognition criteria, the different measurement bases, they still apply fundamentally. So if you've got a good knowledge of the framework, you can then apply it to some of those complex transactions. Part C sounds quite fancy. That's just covering all the IFRSs and IASs. So what you see is that there is a lot of brought forward knowledge from your prior studies, whether that's F7, whether that is financial reporting, hotel, motel, same exam, same background, same technical knowledge, different name. Okay. So you're going to bring a lot of the standards forward. So property, plant and equipment, impairments, intangibles, non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations, leases, revenue, financial instruments. You've seen all those before. They get examined at strategic business reporting level again. So it's great if you've kept that knowledge and maintained it. If not, don't worry, we go through things again to make sure there that you get that knowledge, can refresh that knowledge so that you're ready to approach it from a strategic business reporting perspective. Because what happens in strategic business reporting is you have the same rules, but it's applied in a more technically different or technically difficult scenario. Okay. We do introduce some new IFRSs and IASs. Within there, we introduce pensions and IAS 19. We introduce share-based payments and IFRS 2. Operating segments is that IFRS 8. We add bits into financial instruments that you've not previously seen. So we begin to go through there and look at hedging. We begin to look at the impairments of your financial assets. So there's not actually a huge amount of new aspects that we go through and look at. Okay. There are additional areas. Yes, some of them are more difficult than others, but the key is to keep that F7 financial reporting knowledge here, okay, and be able to apply it in those complex scenarios. We then have to look at groups. Now, just be careful there because it does say prepare the financial statements of group entities. And I think this is where one of the biggest differences is from when we've previously seen P2 to where we are now with strategic business reporting. Because for P2, you had 35 marks of the exam that was pure number crunching, which was going through there and preparing a group statement of financial position, a group statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, or a group statement of cash flows. Now that doesn't exist. We don't have to actually prepare the group accounts. You might have to prepare extracts from that group account and comment upon the accounting treatment. So it's not just purely number crunching anymore. There is some discursive elements, some explanation elements attached to it, and you're going to have to prepare extracts. So you might have to, let's just say, from group accounts, look at goodwill, calculate goodwill, calculate the non-controlling interest, calculate the group retained earnings. Okay, so going back to what you've seen in FR or F7 and using the workings that we've had, those standardized workings to help us calculate those figures that will appear within the group financial statements. Okay, so there is a bit of number crunching, which is great, which we'll focus upon as we go through the videos, but there is some discursive elements as well. So they're going to be fairly equally weighted, so we can't just focus on one and not the other. We do have to bring in a discussion element to it as well. I have a feeling that as strategic business reporting develops, students will start off being very good at the computations because that's what they're used to if they've done P2 previously. I think it will take time to develop into understanding and be able to write well in terms of those discursive explanation aspects of the question. E is all about your interpretation of your financial statements. So like you've seen in financial reporting, I don't think you're likely to have to calculate any ratios, but you're going to have to go through there and analyze more complex situations. Maybe it could include analyzing group accounts as opposed to just the individual entity accounts. Okay. And then you've got part E. Again, part E looks all very long-winded and fancy, but effectively it's just your current issues. And again, this is where one of the other big differences comes from as we move into strategic business reporting from the world of P2, is that with the current issues now, it is not one separate question. Current issues will be interspersed within other questions within the exam. Okay, there we go. So it's not a case of if you did P2 and you didn't like current issues, I could ignore it because it wasn't going to potentially be attempted because it was a question that was optional. You'll see now that it's interspersed amongst all the questions potentially in section B, and there's no more optional questions. Everything is compulsory. Okay, yeah, enjoy. So that brings us nicely into the exam, doesn't it? As we've said, all questions are compulsory. So what is the exam made up of? Well, there is section A, and within there will be 2 compulsory questions of 50 marks in total. Okay, in the pilot paper, specimen paper, I suppose, the first question is 30 marks, the second question is 20 marks. Will that be the same going through every exam sitting? Only time will tell. Okay. And then in section B, there are 2 compulsory questions, again totaling 50 marks, but here we know that it will be 25 marks each. Okay. So let's look at them in more detail, section A and section B. In section A, one of those questions will be groups themed. That doesn't mean that we are preparing the group accounts, but there will be group account aspects to it in terms of the computation, in terms of the discussion as well. However, we also have within there as well some financial reporting issues, and again, those financial reporting issues will have your computation aspect, so some calculations and crunching numbers, but also a discussion aspect as well. Okay. The second question within there, I suppose we can refer it to it as our ethics question. As I said in the specimen paper, that question is there for 20 marks, but it is not 20 marks purely just on ethics. Okay. It was asking you to go through and look at some financial reporting issues. Okay, so I think there was about 5 or so financial reporting issues. All of those issues, it was based upon a financial director applying pressure to the reporting accountant. You had to look at the ethical issues facing the reporting accountant, not the financial director. So you needed to address the financial reporting issues and then look at the ethical issues faced with by the reporting accountants, how they should resolve them and what they should do in terms of considering their position. Okay, like I said, if you've done P1 or if you're in the process of doing strategic business leader, that question in terms of the ethics aspect shouldn't cause you any issues whatsoever. Okay, again, the financial reporting issues there, from what we've seen in the specimen paper, there are no computation aspects to it. It is purely discursive. The computation aspects are within that first question within the section of that groups style question or groups related question. Section B, 25 marks each, 2 questions. Looking there at a particular scenario, a case study or just an essay based scenario, going through there and covering all areas of the syllabus. So whether that is there as the framework, the current issues, it's going to be heavily weighted towards the accounting standards, the IFRSs and the ISs. But like we've seen in the specimen paper, there's also a little bit of analysis and interpretation as well for you to look at. Okay. There are discursive elements and there will be computational elements. In the specimen paper, the computational elements, if memory serves me right, were very much more towards the analysis and interpretations. I'm still getting used to the syllabus myself and how it all pieces together. As long as I've spent looking at it and investigating it, researching it, it's still new to me as well. So yeah, the computation elements there were actually within the analysis and interpretation and getting you to adjust some of the ratios that this business had prepared. It was all focused around EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization, and how they were looking to manipulate that. And you had to remove the elements that they were effectively trying to manipulate. Okay. So it's not something you can rote learn. It really is an application of your knowledge to a test on the day of what you can do. Again, just remember the current issues aspect within the could be split between those 2 questions. Okay, there we go. So that's the structure of the exam. Very different to the old P2 exam, wasn't it? Whereby you had one big question for 50 marks in section A that was compulsory, that was on 35 marks of group accounts. There was a little bit of ethics and some small financial reporting issue to deal with. And then in section B, you had 3 questions, of which 2 you had to choose. 2 of the questions were on financial reporting issues. 1 of them was on the current issues, and you got to ignore 1 of those questions, didn't you? Now, everything is compulsory. Okay, so you can't really ignore any elements of the syllabus. The exam itself is 3 hours and 15 minutes. So that's 195 minutes. So for 100 marks in total, that works out at 1.95 minutes per mark. Okay. If you're serious about the exam, serious about passing, you need to answer the questions within the time limits that are available. Okay. If you overrun, the rule of diminishing returns applies. You're spending 10 minutes on one question to get that extra mark, and you can spend 10 minutes on the other question at the beginning and get yourself 5 or 6 easy marks. Okay. Useful resources, I always like to point this out. You've got the ACCA website. So there's 2 aspects of the website that I would point you towards. There's the link. You can find it by Googling it and searching it yourself, by looking at the study resources for strategic business reporting. They're fantastic. You have to make use of them. Ones that I would point you in the direction towards is, first of all, the guidance from the examining team. So again, it will recap, if you like, the structure of the exam, how to approach the exam from an ACCA's perspective. But more importantly, what I would like you to focus upon is for each exam that is sat. So for September, December, March and June, it will give you a report on that exam. It will explain what came up, how it was examined, and it will tell you as well how the students performed. So it's really good to identify hot topics and to identify how things get examined on a regular basis. So I would recommend that you download them, you read them, and you understand what gets examined. Okay, particularly important as we get used to this new strategic business reporting exam. Obviously, as time progresses, there will be more past exam papers. There are obviously none at this moment in time. However, we do have the specimen paper that is there, and then we will get, as time progresses, we will get the hybrid paper at the end of the September and December sittings, and then we'll get the hybrid paper at the end of the March and June sittings. So we don't get every paper from every sitting, which would be nice. We get a paper every 6 months that covers some of the questions that have been seen over those last 2 exam sittings. Okay. And then what you've got as well, some technical articles. They're really good to help you understand some technically difficult aspects of the syllabus. It's written in plain, simple, easy to understand English. Those articles are provided by the ACCA examining team. So it's coming straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. It's giving you information about what they think is relevant for the upcoming exams. Okay. Likewise as well, if you go to the CPD aspect of the website, that's really useful there, because there are some articles that are written by some technical experts that are maybe not part of the examining team, and they write some CPD articles. You think, well, I'm not qualified yet, so I don't need to think about my continuing professional development. Well, it's really useful to help you with current issues. Okay, if you can understand and read those articles, it gives you a better, more thorough understanding of the current issues, and will set you up better to answer that part of the question in section B that covers current issues. Okay. Other useful resources that you've got, I think there's 3 websites that I just like to highlight. IFRS website, ifrs.org, goes through there and gives you all of the accounting standards. So you can get the basic rules from each accounting standard if you so wish, without having to go through and purchase the full IFRS book that contains all the detailed rules and guidance. IS Plus again goes through and gives you useful articles there in terms of the IFRSs and the IASs themselves. And then you can use any of the accounting websites that you so wish. PwC have got a good one there called Inform, and that goes through there. They have videos, they have podcasts on there as well that go through there and talk you through some of the technical issues that there are in the application of some of the more complex accounting standards. So do take time to visit them, have a play around with them, get to understand them. Don't spend too long upon them. They are there designed to go through there and further your knowledge. You know, focus on our revision, or focus on our tuition materials, our revision materials. Focus on your revision kit, your study text of your chosen tuition provider, because that will give you the essentials that you require. In terms of our resources, what have we put together? At the moment, we'll put together some class notes. Forgive me if there are mistakes in them. You are my eyes, you are my ears, so you're there to correct them for me. I go through and try and make sure everything is correct, but I'm the only person here that is looking at your corporate reporting aspects and financial reporting aspects as well. There's nobody else to check whether or not things are right or wrong. Okay, so mistakes happen, they're natural. Don't panic, don't stress. Just note them and let me know. Okay. There are tuition videos. So again, we've tried to update them as many as possible to reflect the strategic business reporting elements of the syllabus. Some of them will just be what we've seen previously from when we've used them as P2 videos. Okay, we will endeavour to update them all in due course, but for now, there may be the odd reference to P2 within there, but do not panic. Don't start thinking that that is not relevant. Okay, as I said, there isn't a huge change in terms of the technical content from what you've seen from P2 to strategic business reporting. Okay. As I go along, there will be revision videos that cover the past exam paper questions. As I speak, I'm in the process of putting together the tuition videos and finalising them. And then I will start thinking about the revision video. So I will record the revision video for that specimen exam paper. Okay. And also put together my own set of solutions that hopefully you can understand and interpret it based on what we've done within the course. And then you've got the Ask the Tutor forum. If you do have any questions, technical, non-technical, fire away, and then I will use that forum to answer your questions. Okay. If you have any general questions that you want to put to the cohorts and your peers, then just use the normal strategic business reporting forum, and then your peers can go through there and engage in dialogue, engage in discussion with you. I do not go through there and check the Ask the Tutor, or sorry, I do check the Ask the Tutor forum. I do not check the general forum. Okay. Likewise as well, if you are watching the videos and you have got any questions, it's much easier for me if you post the questions on the Ask the Tutor forum as opposed to posting it below the video as well. It's much easier for me to go through there and check when the comments have been made. Okay. There we go. There's our resources, and we'll build them up as we go along. They're all free, so please don't try and complain. Okay, we do our best to help you out. The key to success: how are you going to pass this exam? How are you going to get the magic 50%? The basics. That's what you need to know, not the be all and end all of everything. I get questions, and it's great to get them because it shows you're taking an interest in the subject, but some of the questions that you get on financial instruments and some of the more complex aspects, it's like, seriously, come on. Yeah, you're really trying to understand the really highly technical aspects of the syllabus, and you're taking loads of time to be able to understand it. Just focus on the basics. If you get the basics right, you're going to pass. You're wasting your time trying to understand the finer details of financial instruments. Question practice. Don't just read the class notes. Don't just listen to the videos. Don't just read your study text of your chosen tuition provider. No. Yeah, practice the questions. You need to purchase a revision kit to be able to pass the exam, an up-to-date revision kit. Okay, so it has to be strategic reporting. It needs to be the most up-to-date one. Okay, and then within there you practice the questions and under time conditions. So that's 1.95 minutes per mark, isn't it? Okay, so if you practice it to time, you will get used to answering it within the time available, and you'll be able to do well because you'll be able to apply that within the exam. You're training to get yourself ready for that exam. If you do questions and take too long on them, and you think, yeah, I can do that question, but when it gets to the exam, you've got those time conditions, you're not going to do as well as what you think. Okay. Use the Ask the Tutor forum. If there's anything you don't understand, whether it's regards to a past exam question, whether it's regards to a question in the revision kit, or it's something within the class notes that you don't understand, ask the questions. I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. I usually check the forum at least twice a week, so usually midweek and weekends. So you'll get a response usually within 2 or 3 days at the latest. On the odd occasion, particularly when it gets closer to the exams, I will check the forum more regularly. Okay, but initially I'll be checking it at midweek and at weekends. So I'll get back to you within 2 to 3 days at max. So that's it from me for now. All that remains to be said, good luck. Okay, if you apply yourself, you will be able to pass. If you don't, you will fail. Okay, good luck and enjoy the course. Okay, we try to have a bit of fun. We try to get interactive. We try to make it a little bit more animation within there. I try to get excited about it, even though it is studying towards an exam. So hopefully you enjoy what we do and you'll have plenty of positive comments to be able to pass. Other than that, I'll see you in a moment when we start chapter number